Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new here. We have full moon in Aries, so I will be reading the tarot cards to get some messages for you around that and letting things go, releasing things, all of that. So whenever you're ready, I have 3 groups for you to choose from. You can pick group 1, group 2, or group 3. You can pick by the number, the card you can see, anything that resonates for you. Whenever you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see you at the reading that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 1. So you all picked the card, A Fiery Climax Approaches, full moon in Aries. So since this is the card of the moon we have right now, I'm going to go ahead and guess that you like order, you like structure, you like answers, okay? Because there were 2 other cards that were not what's going on astrologically, but this is the one you picked. So going along with that, with A Fiery Climax Approaches, what I'm feeling is like there's situations where you can brace yourself for this, okay? But you can let go a little bit. You know the saying, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Would you rather have peace or would you rather be right? There's things where sometimes we can get really caught up in like, it has to be my way and it has to be exactly like this, and I need to be heard and I need to have the last word and I need to whatever, right? Obviously, of course, there are times where it is important for us to do that so we can stand up for ourselves, so we can feel like we're showing up for ourselves, like all those things, right? But there are also times where we do that in a way that's like we're avoiding something, or it's just ego-based, or there isn't any real reason that we feel like we have to do that. We just do it in order to keep going, right? And so fiery climax approaches, this even has a little exclamation point on there. So drama, okay? So just saying like sometimes we need to step back and be like, okay, where can I eat my humble pie a little bit right here, right? Again, there is a time and a place to stand up for yourself, to set your limits, to set your boundaries, but it's about who am I doing that with and in what capacity, and is it really worth it? And if it's not, and it's like, what am I trying to prove from this? What am I getting from this? What is this saying to me, about my ego, about my, whatever, right? So this is a reminder that if this is resonating for you, there could be a situation where it doesn't even have to be conflict. It could just be a relationship or a situation where, you feel this need to prove yourself and I have to be right and it's all about me and, all these things too. And I can say this also as a fire sign. I get it. Okay, it happens to us, but this is a reminder that a fiery climax approaches can be prevented or shifted or toned down, or there can be peace. So many times when we go into a situation where we feel unheard, it's like we expect to get things 100% our way, but it's like, well, what about the other person? They just get nothing, right? So there has to be compromise, there has to be evening out, there has to be this area of like pulling together instead of pulling apart with that. So a fiery climax approaches, can you release things? Can you let them go? Can it not be 100% your way? Can you try to give a little bit of grace and space, even if that seems very challenging? But a lot of times, relationships show us where our limits are, right? And there are such thing as like boundaries being too rigid and being too strict and too whatever. And certain things, it's okay to have that, but always take whatever I say how it resonates. But this could be a situation where it's like, it doesn't have to be 100% rigid. It can be a little flexible, not to the point where I have no boundaries at all, but there can be a little bit more flow of energy in there for yourself. So just thinking about that, fiery climax approaches, and just letting go of, a lot of times that need to be right, or that need to have it be like 100% my way. That's a distorted, like, attempt to protect ourselves, right? We think like, well, if it does go 100% my way, then nothing's going to go wrong and whatever, right? But usually that's not how it goes. It's how we can manage things in the day-to-day. Okay, I'm going to look at some tarot cards for you before I pull some oracle cards for you at the end of your reading. Yeah, okay, so you have the World in Reverse, Temperance, and the Seven of Swords. So yeah, I feel like this cycle of you needing to be absolutely right about everything all the time it's time to let that go. The cycle is not finished, or it's time to let the cycle be finished. I couldn't find the words. Okay, it's time to realize that, like, this way, this very specific way of doing things, it's time to let that go. And it doesn't have to even be like interpersonally, right? It can be like, can I let go of my will and my plan so that God's will and God's plan can come through for me, instead of me trying to force what I exactly think needs to happen in my timeline, in my way, in my unfolding, right? Can I let go of my very specific, it has to be this way, and just kind of create space for that? And then once I do that, I can like create balance within myself, right? I can even out a little bit. The ironic thing is, whatever we try to control the most always ends up controlling us, because we're putting all this time and energy and effort into trying to make something happen or come to be that we can't, right? And when we do that, the Seven of Swords, what I'm getting with this is like, you're just trying to protect yourself. And it again can seem like a little bit of a distorted way of doing it, but it's coming from a place of like, well, if I control everything and I know exactly how it's going to turn out and how all this is going to whatever, right, then I'll be safe and I won't have to deal with anything unexpected. So I will be even more safe than I thought, and all this. But this is a reminder that you can, how do I say this? It's more important to trust yourself in terms of being able to handle what comes at you, and trusting like, I can handle life, I can figure things out, I can go with this, instead of having everything go our exact way, right? If you've been through hardship or pain or whatever, anything like that, like then it can seem like, oh well, I have to really really protect myself because I didn't before and look what happened. But this is really about you know we can't prevent hardship from happening to us. We can't prevent life from happening to us. And so developing our spiritual tools and our relationship with ourselves and our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our self-efficacy is not about being able to control life, which some spiritual people will tell you it is. Okay. It is about trusting, I've done the work on myself, that I know I can handle life when it appears to me. I can let go of my way. I'm flexible. I can have things change and be different than, how I thought things needed to be for me to have peace. So letting go of, these really, really rigid boundaries and not having flexibility, even though again, you can be give yourself grace and be grateful to yourself for putting those up to try to take care of yourself and all that, but just remembering like, you don't need to do that anymore. You can let yourself be free, you can let go. You can offer yourself some grace and peace in that way, with this some nice humble pie coming out for you. Yeah, more letting go. Okay. I feel like this is a really big thing for you, group one. You really have to let go of this thing you've held on for, this way of being, this idea of existing. It could be a survival mechanism that you developed, which served its purpose for its time. But what I'm hearing now is it's like really time to let go of that and grow out of that, and like adjust to give yourself space to exist in like a more healthy, relaxed, nuanced, flexible way. So we have the Wheel of Fortune, Six of Swords, and the Star. So this is, letting the hands of fate do their work, letting those things come in and kind of, make things happen for us, change around for us, support us in ways that are actually helpful for us, instead of just like, it has to be my way, and if it's not, then I'm never doing it, right? So with that, and then Six of Swords is, loss, of letting go of. To me, this card really talks about like, loss. Sometimes we think, okay, how do I want to say this? Sometimes we think, even if I'm letting something go, or if it's a loss that I choose, that it won't be as painful. And sometimes that's true, right? Sometimes we're just so over something and we're like, okay, never going to think about this again, right? But sometimes there's a loss and it's still sad, and it's still a process, and it's still grieving, and it's still letting go of that. So I feel like as you trust who you're growing into and who you're evolving into, it's okay for sadness and grief to come out of that. Again, it could be a pattern that you had for a long time in your life. It could be even a way you identify with yourself as being a certain way, or existing as a certain thing, and like letting that way of relating to yourself or identifying yourself, right? That can be painful. And so giving yourself space to let that go, and trust yourself that you can grow and change into something or someone else and something new. And then the Star energy is really about, again, pouring back into yourself. You see the water pouring, and this is also what we had on this Temperance card here, right? Water pouring. So pouring back into yourself, really checking in and saying like, what feels right for me? What resonates for me? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? All of those things for myself, right? And just allowing that to to trust that as, again, you grow and change into this new version of yourself, you've developed the tools and the commitment to yourself that you'll know how to navigate that, know how to show up for yourself, and know how to do all of that. And so just being grateful that you are able to do that. And, outgrowing is growing, and trusting our growth is growing, and letting these things kind of come to be and come out the other side is how we can have faith in our relationship with ourselves and what goes on for us, and all of those wonderful things of how we can exist in this world for ourselves. Okay, I'm going to look at just a few more tarot cards for you. Ace of Pentacles, Justice in reverse, and Six of Wands. Yeah, I feel like you've been betrayed. Like maybe you felt like you were listening to your guidance and it took you down a path you really didn't want to go on, or you had to deal with some things you didn't want to look at. So you have Ace of Pentacles in reverse, Justice in reverse, and Six of Wands. Right. So this to me is like, I followed this path, this thing, I went down this thing, I did this thing that felt right to me, and then it turned out totally horrible. So I must have done something wrong, and there was no justice there, right? But what I'm hearing is that you couldn't have become you unless these things happened to you, right? And I don't want to sound crass with that. So I want you to remember that choosing to learn from something, choosing to be a better person because of a situation in your life, choosing to grow and expand on the spiritual level because of something in your life, becoming more compassionate or empathetic, doesn't mean that you like the thing that happened to you, doesn't mean that you condone it, doesn't mean you're happy it happened, right? You can be grateful for your growth without saying like, wow, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. If it actually wasn't, if it was a lot of hardship, you can learn from something and not categorize it as like, wow, I'm so glad that happened. It's more about acceptance of these things that happen to us and what we can turn that into for ourselves, and who we choose to grow through those things, and how we choose to move forward. And again, we're not romanticizing these things or being like, wow, I'm so glad that happened, right? But there can be a space for us to realize, okay, I became this best version of myself because of these things that happened to me. And I chose for myself to grow and change and keep moving and become something because of that, instead of feeling like, oh no, something was wrong with me because of these things that happened to me, right? It doesn't have to be that way. You can have faith and congratulations in yourself that you chose to make the most out of what happened to you. And again, not romanticizing it or being like, wow, that was so amazing, right? But knowing that life is always on life's terms. Things will happen that we don't agree with, that we don't want. And so what we do with that is more about our character than, what things are brought to us in our lifetime. Okay, I'm going to look at some oracle cards for you, group 1. Trust your path. Okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I was reading with these, right? Trust your growth, and trust that, like, when you came out on the other side of something, just because you chose to learn something doesn't mean that you liked it, you condone it. This path you're on is taking you somewhere. So it says, trust your path. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do? So there usually comes a time where when we go through hardship, and when we go through something that's not quite working out for us, right? Eventually we get guidance of like, or a situation happens and we're like, oh, that's why it had to be that thing or that way or that time or that whatever, right? So if we can remember this, right? If we knew we would be supported, if we knew we were taken care of, if we could see the whole bigger picture, we'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I get why this is happening, because this other thing's going to happen because of that, right? But we get so stuck in our heads, we don't see that, or we forget, or we don't do that, which, no judgment, I do that too. It's part of being human. But trust your path, trust you're divinely guided, trust in divine unfolding. All of that is on purpose and adding up and doing all of those things for you, for your benefit instead of against you. Yeah, it's and easier said than done, I know. So if you need a little bit of time to digest that, you can pray for willingness, pray for acceptance, pray to be shown how to do that. All that is good. Blossoming into abundance. Yeah, okay. So this is what I was talking about too in the beginning of your reading as well, when I was talking about trust what you outgrow, trust your growth. A lot of times we can I'm just laughing because it's a very relatable human moment, right? When we're in our comfort zone and things feel good, we're like, cool, I could stay here for the rest of my life. I'm not really being challenged, but I'm comfortable. My needs are taken care of. Seems good, right? And a lot of times God makes us move because we wouldn't move otherwise because we're comfortable, especially if we've had to overcome a lot to get to where we are. So trusting that, the blossom and obviously the butterfly metaphor is always nice of butterfly literally turns to goo. Probably the caterpillar probably doesn't think it's coming back to life, and then somehow it becomes a butterfly. It's unbelievable. So amazing. But just trusting that, when you blossom, it's not, it might not feel the best. Growth can be painful, it can be uncomfortable, but trusting that, the other side and who you become through this process, you'll be so grateful for that you kept going and you showed up for yourself and you got there. And some things, unfortunately, are only learned in hardship, are only learned in discomfort, are only learned when things like don't go our way or we have to deal with something. And that's not romanticizing it. That's just being realistic about life and what life entails. No one is free from hardship. No one has never been afflicted by hardship. Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you, group one. Oops. Rewiring the nervous system. I find strength in surviving my traumas. I mean, that's exactly what I was saying. If you don't feel like you've had trauma particularly, you can just say my hardships, my difficulties, my lessons, my growth, right? If you had trauma, you can hold space for that too. But again, I find strength in surviving my traumas doesn't mean we're like, wow, I'm so glad that happened, right? It just means that you can be proud of yourself that despite everything that happened to you, you've stayed committed to yourself and grown and changed and committed to doing the work when it's so easy to just like shut down and be like, well, this thing happened to me, so I'm not growing and changing because it's too hard, right? And knowing that it takes time, rewiring the nervous system, just thinking about that, right? To rewire something that takes time, takes consistency, it takes effort, it takes patience, it takes failing and trying again, right? So also offering yourself some patience is what I'm hearing for you. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 2. So you all pick the card. What do you need to release? Waning moon. So I know this card is about a waning moon, but we have a full moon. Full moons are always about releasing. They're about the moon cycle ending, things closing, releasing all of that, right? And so what we can think about with this card is just what do you need to release? Not maybe what do you want to release? What would be easy to release? What do I not have to think about if I release it, right? But just being honest with ourselves and turning inward and really saying, what do I need to release? Okay, so it's sometimes maybe it's what I want and need to release, are the same. But when we think about what do we need to release, probably something that is serving us in some way, but is not serving us in another way, right? When we're honest with ourselves about things like this, we can remember that everything we do, behaviors we choose to engage in, are serving a purpose for us, even if that purpose has long shifted and changed. Okay, so it could be something where this is a pattern you did or a coping technique or something that you used for a long time in your life to get through a specific situation or to survive something or to, whatever, but actually you're at the place where you're like, I'm healthy enough now that this isn't really serving me. This isn't a choice I need to keep making anymore. This isn't something I need to believe about myself is permanent, right? So what do you need to release? Like when you think about, myself in 5, 10, 15 years, 5, 10, 15 days, 5, 10, 15 weeks, months, however you want to conceptualize it, right? Which habits do I need to not be doing or behaviors or whatever if I want to become that person? What am I doing right now that doesn't align with who I want to be in the future, right? There's a lot of act as if, which is where you imagine yourself embodying this thing, and then you just are like, oh, look, I'm doing this and what's happening. Because a lot of us, it's human nature to believe that, when I change my mind, then I'll be different. But actually, when we start acting a little bit differently, then we change our self-concept, right? So saying, hold on, I'm going to take a second because I want to get this right. It's easier to act ourselves into a new way of thinking instead of thinking ourselves into a new way of acting, right? And so just take one little tiny baby step. What's one thing you can release and something you can put in its place? Well, that's the other thing too. When we release things, sometimes it's hard for us, if we say, okay, I'm just not going to do this anymore. We need to have something we're substituting that with. We need to have something that's taking its place, because otherwise we can be like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. But then the other side is like, okay, well, what are you doing? So there's like all this free time, or when we feel a certain emotion and we eat this certain food, or we do this certain thing, or we open this app, or whatever we do, right? It's like, what are you going to do in place of that, right? Because it can't just be nothing. I mean, it could, but it'll make it more difficult, right? What can I do instead of that in order to give myself space and peace and release, instead of feeling like, okay, I did that, and now I don't know what to do with my free time, or when I feel this way, or when I want this certain result from something, right? So what do you need to release, and what can you replace it with, right? What can come to help and support you in that way? Okay, I'm going to look at some tarot cards for you, and then I'll look at some oracle cards after that. Yeah, it's really time to let some stuff go, okay? Including some judgment of the self. Okay, so group one, so you have judgment in reverse, Four of Cups in reverse, and the Emperor. So I feel like, maybe okay, we can't change until we accept ourselves, and that includes something we're embarrassed about, ashamed about, that we don't maybe particularly like, we're not proud of, that we're doing, right? But only once we're free, then we can, or only once we accept ourselves, then we're free to change. It's kind of like it doesn't make sense, seems like counterintuitive, right? But once we release that judgment from ourselves, and once we, can put our hand on our heart, or write ourselves a letter, or just even say it to ourselves, look in the mirror and say it's very powerful too, and just say, like, even though I participate in this activity that I'm not super proud of, or I can't stop, or I don't like, or I'm ashamed that is my habit, I love and accept myself. I know I was doing the best I could. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to be different, right? And when we do that, that can kind of soften some of this resistance, right? This card is about resistance, about not accepting, all of that. So once we do that, it can kind of soften our relationship with ourselves and soften how we feel with all of those things. And then the Emperor, this is like really powerful, grounded, clear energy, and someone who, I just love how the Emperor is always shown like with the suit of armor on, and also, the Emperor clothes, Emperor vibe style clothes, right? Because it's like, you have worked hard to get here, you've survived a lot of things, you had to fight, you had to travel, you had to, do all of that to get there. But when we release this judgment, then we can kind of be like, okay, what do I need to release? What am I ready to grow into? What am I ready to change into, and all of that. And so, this Emperor energy can really be about embodying that, instead of judging ourselves for like, oh, I can't believe I do this thing, it's so stupid. It's like, everyone's doing the best they can. And especially with us, we learn these unhealthy things and do them oftentimes out of survival. Once we can let those go, we can then have space to kind of move into a more healthy way of existence for ourselves and for everyone else around us, right? So how can you stop judging yourself? And if that's hard for you to connect to, you can think about, like, if someone I really love and care about told me this, the same situation like you're going through, but pretending a friend, someone you love and care about, unconditionally told you that, then what would you say to them? Right? How would you offer them love and care and support? And a lot of times the words that feel most helpful for us to give someone else is like what we most want to hear within ourselves, right? So what comes up for you, what feels good, what feels like what our soul is really craving for us to hear, and to listen to. Okay, Page of Swords, King of Pentacles in the World. Yeah, I mean, you have to take one little step to be able to take 10,000 steps, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Okay, so Page of Swords, King of Pentacles in the World. You have to be brave enough to take that one little step, start that one little way, do this one little thing, to be able to blossom into this version of ourselves, right? When you ever think about how much you've accomplished, or how many things in your life have been the result of all these other actions you've taken in your life, that's why change can be scary, because it's like, whoa, it's something totally new. And especially the older we all get, like, oh my God, I have to do something different, but I'm so comfortable here. I know what this feels like. I know what this is like. I know, like, whatever, with all of that. And then this world is about this world, the card, the world, not this world. Okay. Well, I guess this world too. But the world is about reminding us that cycles have to come to an end. There's a season for everything in life, and all of those seasons have to be different, and we might not enjoy them all, but they're all required for us to be able to get through all the other seasons. And so this Page of Swords and King of Pentacles in the world are all showing us that, there is a season for us to be the beginner, and then there's a season for us to have mastery over a specific way of being, a specific way of life, a specific thing. And then there's a season for all of that to come to a close, and then a new cycle starts again, right? So this could be about something very specific, could be about something more broad and spread out, but it's just a reminder that everyone, if you are committed to growth and change and spiritual expansion, I'm assuming you are, if you're spending your free time watching a tarot reading on YouTube. Okay. And I'm happy you're here, by the way. Okay. But just a reminder that if you are here for spiritual expansion, there's always things coming and going and changing, and nothing is permanent. And life is about experiencing these different things and what they look like and how that can look like for you, instead of just like, okay, I did this one thing, that's it, the end. And yeah, just trusting your growth. That was also a theme for group 1. So if you feel like that's what's coming up for you, maybe you want to watch that reading too. But yeah, just we have to die and be reborn, and die and be reborn in many different ways in one lifetime before like our physical body actually dies. So yeah, trusting that. Okay. It's safe to go within group 2. Okay. It's safe to trust yourself. It's safe to see what's going on in there. Trust your guidance, trust what feels right for you. So we have the 9 of Wands, the Queen of Cups, and the 4 of Swords. So maybe, when I'm talking about like these techniques, these survival things we've learned that maybe don't serve us the best anymore, we can be scared to be like, I don't want to look inside. I don't want to see what's going on there. I don't feel safe. I don't feel super comfortable. Right? But you can trust your emotional intelligence. You can trust what's going on inside of you, trust that it's not permanent, trust that what you need to know at any given time is enough, and more will be revealed to you as you continue along, and what that means for you. And this 4 of Swords is, really about being still, turning inward, being able to sit with yourself, to hear yourself. So many of us get so good at and the world encourages this, right, of knowing everything outside of us, connecting to all of that, go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But how many of us really know how to sit and be still with ourselves and just really turn inward and explore what's going on, right? And exploring our feelings and seeing what's going on doesn't mean that we have to take action, that we have to be different, that we have to whatever. It just means like, okay, I'm going to turn inward, see what's going on in there, and continue to move forward in that way. So this is about trusting that, and trusting like it's safe to go inward. It's safe to listen to my emotions. It's safe to use them as a guidance, right? And again, putting that pause between I feel this way, so I take an action, right? I feel this way, I observe it, I see what's going on, then I decide what action I want to take. Then I decide, okay, this is a time where I just need to let the emotion pass, or I do need to take action on it, or I need to journal on it, or I need to, whatever, right? So this is a reminder that it's okay for you to turn inward, and that's how we build our relationship with ourselves, is continually turning inward, see what's going on in there with us, seeing what's happening and how that resonates for us. But yes, being still, and maybe, this question, what do you need to release, can be rushing around and always going and, not listening to myself, not connecting to myself, right? All of that. Okay, I'm going to pull some oracle cards for you, group 2. You're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. So a lot of times when we get to the point where we're like, okay, I'm ready to release this, when we can consciously recognize that, that means our soul has been ready for it for a while, right? Our soul is usually ahead of our physical body and our minds and these 3D world things, right? So you're already doing it as a reminder that you're already doing it. You are here to grow and change, and you're already programmed to become this next version of yourself, to shed and to shift and to change. And you're already doing it as a reminder that you are already doing it. You already are programmed to expand and become this new version of yourself, this next version of yourself. And so trusting your growth, trusting the unfolding, and trusting, oh my God, how am I going to do it? How am I going to release this thing? Like, again, part of you knows that this is what's right for you. If that thought is even like, if you're contemplating it, then, this is a guidance that there is something for you on the other side of that, if you are able to release and continue on. Feel it to heal it. Okay, so again, this is just what I was talking about with like this emotional exploration, right? It obviously takes time and effort to build a relationship with ourselves, to release things, to do all of that. But feel it to heal it is a reminder that when we go inward, like our own energy can't hurt us. It's just stories or wounding or pain, things that have happened to us that we've internalized is what's hurting us. But connecting to ourselves, connecting to our own energy, like that doesn't hurt us. Connecting to ourselves, like we are built to have the most loving, kind, patient relationship with ourselves. So a lot of us have to practice, including me, to get there. Okay. But feel it to heal it as a reminder. You can turn inward. You can hold space for yourself. You can be patient for yourself, and trusting what's on the other side of that for yourself. Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you. Liberating love. I allow myself to receive all the fulfillment I'm willing to give. Wow, I had to take a breath when I read that. I allow myself to receive all the fulfillment I'm willing to give. So a lot of us are really good at giving, but we're not the best at receiving. Okay, a lot of us are really good at being non-judgmental, being kind, being compassionate to other people, but not to ourselves, right? And so if you are so willing to give people grace and patience and kindness and understanding, like you have the blueprint to do that. It's just turning it inward on yourself and practicing building that relationship with yourself and doing it, right? So it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means it's not practiced. You haven't done it, all that stuff. But I allow myself to receive all the fulfillment I'm willing to give is just giving yourself permission to change your mind, to let yourself change, and maybe the thing you need to release is like not receiving. Maybe the thing you need to release is like holding yourself to a higher standard than you hold other people in your life. And not that you like won't be motivated to do things or anything like that, but that you can, be kind and compassionate and open to yourself the same way that you would be for people around you. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome to everyone who picked group number 3. So you all pick the card. It's time to take action. New moon in Aries. So this is a very clear message that if you have been thinking about something or contemplating something or been like, oh yeah, that would be cool if I do that one day, or I would really like to get going on this creative project I have, or I really want to run this business for myself, or I really want to take this class, or of course take it how it resonates, right? Or I really want to put myself out there with like my creativity, my music, my writing, my whatever, right? It's time to take action. Okay. We could find enough excuses as humans because we love to stay in our comfort zones to not do something for a very long time, but there comes a point where we have to just kind of force ourselves to start taking the action, and then we build momentum, and then it gets easier. Just there's a lot of similar themes for all of these groups. So I just said this in group 2, but it reminds me of the saying, it's easier to act ourselves into a new way of thinking, then think ourselves into a new way of acting, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, that'll be great, and I'll plan this perfect thing out, and it'll be like that. You can have the most beautiful, perfect plans in the world, but at the end of the day, eventually you have to start taking action if you want something to happen. It doesn't mean you'll be perfect. It doesn't mean you'll get it right away. It just means that you'll take time and space for yourself to figure it out, to see what's going on, to do all of that. So it's time to take action is a reminder that however this is resonating for you, just take one tiny little action, right? So what could that be? Sending one email, or buying a website domain, or making an Instagram account to feature this thing, or reaching out to a person, or organizing something, or whatever you need to do, but just starting that and getting the momentum going so you don't again, there needs to be planning and thinking and releasing, right? But if something in you was drawn to this card to show you that eventually you have to start taking action, and that's really what I'm hearing for you, group 3. It's time to take some action. Okay, so what can you do with where you're at? How can you just start? How can you start by starting and having faith that those things will add up, and continue to keep going for yourself over time? Okay, I'm going to look at some tarot cards for you. Group 3. Okay, so we have the Hierophant, 8 of Cups, and 8 of Pentacles in reverse. So I feel like maybe you're like, I have been taking action. Maybe the action you've been taking, you're putting it on the wrong thing. Okay, not the wrong thing, but something that doesn't have fulfillment for you long term, or is like your energy will be better spent putting it somewhere else. So with the Hierophant, to me, the Hierophant is always about back to basics. It's about just being consistent, doing your basic things, and eventually something's going to happen, right? If you're consistent and you're clear and it's healthy, something's going to happen eventually. You're either going to get clarity to switch directions, which is what I'm getting from these other 2 cards, right? Or you're going to, something will happen if you keep doing something eventually, right? But so what I'm hearing is, you've been putting a lot of the work in, upside down, this about putting the work in, doing all that, right? But it's time to let go of that and put your energy and effort somewhere else. So it doesn't mean you have to give up on your dream or you have to stop doing stuff. You'll know what I'm talking about if this is resonating for you, but just like this one specific way you've been trying, right? It could be that you're like banging this door down, like, let me in. And like the door two doors over is like completely wide open, like, hello, the thing that's for you is over here, like, come over here with us. So this is a reminder that, part of being connected to ourselves and part of hearing ourselves and hearing our guidance is knowing when we need to shift our focus and not being so spread out and so focused on like, I want this result in this way, in this time, in this thing, that we don't see or we disconnect from when it's time for us to change or shift or do something different, right? So this energy of the Hierophant of like, do the basics, do your thing, show up for yourself, do all these things that we know work, but again, maybe walking away from something that has been working, pulling your energy back from it and trying with something else, right? So maybe it's like, okay, I tried this one avenue, but I'm going to try this other thing. Or, I've really been focused on doing it this one way, but I'm going to try to do something that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone or a little bit different. Sometimes when things aren't unfolding, it's time for us to try something different or try a different way. So again, this doesn't mean to give up on your dream or give up on what you want or give up on what will work for you, but it's just, how many times are we willing to try what could work for us or try something that maybe we didn't really think like, okay, yeah, this is going to work for me immediately. So here we go, right? We have to be willing to get out of our own way and be willing to take action in a way that might not be what we originally thought of what or how or when or why it's going to happen. So it's like, are you open to it being something different than what you thought in order to get to where you want to be going, right? Sometimes there's a detour, sometimes there's a completely different path, sometimes it's like, I was not even close to what I thought was going to happen, right? But that's part of the bigger picture, and God being in charge and not us, and just remembering that, we do our best, but then once we see something's not working, it's time to pivot and readjust and change so that we can continue to be guided towards what is for us, instead of being like, oh, well, it wasn't this one particular very specific thing that I'm not being flexible about at all, so it's not for me. It's like, well, maybe it is. You just got to tweak it and adjust it and change it a little bit differently. Yeah, I feel that's been causing you a lot of self-doubt, group 3, okay? A lot of self-doubt. So we have the 9 of Swords, the Hermit, and the King of Wands. So I'm getting this, I just got hit with like a wave of sadness of just like, I've been trying so hard, I've been doing everything right, and it's just like nothing is happening, okay? So I feel like, that's nothing to beat yourself up about, okay? Even if we do everything perfectly right, we can never control the outcome of something. Even if it's on paper, we did everything correctly, we did whatever, right? We're only in charge of the actions that get us there, not the outcome. And so I feel like this has been yeah, I feel, I'm just getting this image of like pushing against this door that's like cemented shut. And it doesn't mean that the door will never open. It just might mean like not now. And so I feel like that's caused you to go inward and kind of do a lot of self-blame. Be like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Right? Sometimes things don't go our way just so we can practice a new level of self-acceptance, a new level of non-judgment, a new level of like being kind and compassionate to ourselves in a way that we didn't before. And then this King of Wands is just a reminder that like you aren't the issue, okay? Like being loving and compassionate to yourself while you're waiting for what you want, what you learn while you're waiting, while you're trying to get there is just as important as the thing that you're trying to get and work towards. So if you feel like you've just been like, I want this specific thing and I want it right now, right? Sometimes it's not our timing, it's not our unfolding, it's not our plan, it's not our way, but it doesn't mean we're not going to get there. It's not going to happen. It's just we get so caught up in the details of something that we make ourselves so upset instead of just being like, okay, if God put me right here, right? That Hafiz quote, like the place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you. Like everything is on purpose and these things are all part of the bigger picture. And if we could zoom out and see what God sees, then we could relax and be like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to get there. I'm going to do this. Right. But it's time to take action. Maybe you have to do this one little thing over here instead of going like from here to here, maybe you have to go over here and do this thing and then you'll be able to get there, right? Divine order is at play and that's so annoying and I get it. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but just remembering that sometimes things don't unfold in the order or the way we want. And it doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. It's just recognizing frustration. It's like usually that means something's not happening and it's time for us to put our energy somewhere else. So there's nothing wrong with you. You're doing the best you can. You're acting with integrity. You're doing these things, right? Instead putting your energy into somewhere or where a place where it's like, okay, this door isn't moving right now, but maybe this door over here is going to lead me to that one. And when I come back, that one's going to be open, right? So just trusting that when God says no, it could mean not right now. It could mean not yet. It could mean you have to do this other thing first so that you can expand on the soul level so you can be ready for that thing instead. Right. So not now doesn't mean never. Not now doesn't mean you're a failure. Not now doesn't mean that you are doing something inherently wrong or that something's wrong with you. But, could just be taking the action. This is the other nuance I'm getting for you, group 3. Taking the action could be that you're already taking action, but it's time to take action, putting your energy somewhere else with it, right? Okay, let's get one more set of cards for you. Okay, yeah, so 6 of Swords in reverse, Ace of Wands in reverse, of Ace of Cups. So yeah, what I'm really getting is not like Ace of Wands is like completely something new, respark of passion, whatever. It's not about completely changing your life and doing everything completely different. It's just about pouring into yourself and being intentional with that. And like what's actually going to happen is you're actually going to feel relief. Maybe you're really worried, you're going to feel lost, right? But what actually is happening is when you shift and change and readjust and you're getting equal energy exchange instead of like slamming into this brick wall that's not moving, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel more clear. You're going to feel like, okay, cool. This is the things I can control and this is where I can put my own energy. And so I do feel better. I do feel more clear. I do feel like I'm getting somewhere finally, instead of just like, again, like slamming your head against this wall of like, nothing's happening, nothing's going on. And so this Ace of Cups could be a reminder that once we, when we feel depleted or we feel like our energy isn't being reciprocated, and doesn't have to be in the exact way, it's just about reciprocity, not necessarily like, keeping exact score of things, right? When we feel like that's happening, then we replenish and we feel more motivated to keep going and we feel more clear and connected and aware of ourselves, right? And so this is a reminder that when we have frustration, taking the time to take action could mean just refilling ourselves up and putting our energy in a place that we feel like there is reciprocity there and we feel like it is being reciprocal and we feel like I am doing a good job, I'm trying, I'm pushing myself, I'm doing all of these things. So it doesn't mean you have to completely shift and change your whole life and re-examine everything and all that. It just means that maybe, it needs do a little detour, get over here, be a little bit different than what's been going on for me with that. Okay, I'm going to look at some oracle cards for you, group 3. Actually, no, I want to pull a few more tarot cards. I just feel like there's one more message that really wants to come out for you. Yeah, when you do that, you're gonna have more choices, okay? So this is what I wanted. This I knew there was something in here. Okay. So you have the Six of Cups, Queen of Swords, and Seven of Cups. Okay. So really nurturing, checking in. A lot of times we can get caught up in like, okay, on paper this looks good and I'm doing all these things, but it's like, how am I feeling? Like if we just checked in with how we were feeling so much more often, we could be like, oh, this feels really bad, so I don't want to keep going, even though it looks really great on paper. And not the bad in like I'm being pushed out of my comfort zone, but the bad that like this is not for me at all, right? So when we check in with that inner child and let even those very simple, clear feelings, right? If you ever hung out around children, you're like, do you want to do something? They're like, no, like they don't mince their words when they don't want to do something. And so if we could develop that and maintain that as adults, doesn't mean we have to be rude or anything, but just getting clear about like, you know what, this actually isn't the thing for me. And trusting those boundaries, okay, with this Queen of Swords, we'll see we have way more options than we thought we did. But we just thought like, oh, well, it has to be this way, this thing, this whatever, right? But just instead really trusting like this feels off for me, so I'm gonna put my energy somewhere else. I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna whatever. Right. So taking action again, there could all discernment's also an action. So taking action in a way that's you know, cutting something out, saying no, having better boundaries, doing all of that can be good for you. Okay, now I'm gonna look at your oracle cards for you to wrap things up. Group 3. The age of light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. Okay. So this could be literally if you believe in reincarnation and past lives and all that, that could be that. But this also, what I'm hearing is could feel like you've been pushing for lifetimes or forever and nothing's happening. But this is again the same message that I was talking about before of like what you learn while you're waiting, how you develop on the soul level, how you do things when you're trying to readjust and shift and change. All of that is important, and all of that is soul growth, and all of that will get you to where you want to be going next. Okay. So the age of light, just trusting nothing is wasted when your heart is surrendered to God, when your heart is surrendered to God's plan for you. It's just a reminder that, you can get to the other side with this. I actually feel like I want to pull one more from this deck before I do the other deck. Get a little treat, group 3. No. Okay, I knew it. Wait, postpone, pause, say no. Discernment. Okay, this is exactly what I was saying. So taking action, discernment is an action. Saying no is an action. Doing something different is an action. Putting your energy somewhere else is an action. So I don't know what you need to say no to, but it's clearly something if that is coming very clearly through this. So I just love when the cards say no. It's so funny. No, no is a complete sentence. Own it. No, I will not be doing that. That was amazing. Okay, let me get one more from this deck. Feast on the nectar of life. Okay, so again, this is really, I feel like, talking to just what I was talking about with this Ace of Cups of pouring back into yourself, and also this Seven of Cups here of just like you have choice, you have options. There's sweet things in life. We can be fulfilled in so many ways. And just like if you are willing enough to let go of how you think you want it to be, so that how it needs to be for you can be brought to you. So feasting on the nectar of life, trusting there's options, trusting there's a lot of things that can fulfill us that maybe, we think, well, I don't really know if that would work for me. Then we try it out and we're like, oh, actually, this is fine. I know that might be contradictory because I just told you to say no. But again, there's a difference between being open and trying something new versus like, I know this thing is not working for me, so I definitely need to say no to it. Okay, and I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you, group 3. Rewriting the subconscious. The more I embrace feeling good, the less often I will feel bad. Okay, so again, this isn't like to be crass and be like, wow, just be toxically positive, right? But this is what I was talking about with letting like our feelings be our guides, and not like emotional responses or reactions to things, but just like, does this feel good to me? We do so many, and some things we have to do, like I get it. Like I'm sure none of us would work if we didn't have to, right? It feels bad, but there's a work environment that's nurturing, that's loving, that's caring, where you feel seen. And there's one that's like wow, this is so horrible. I don't feel seen at all here. I don't feel understood. I'm getting taken advantage of, right? So kind of feeling that difference. So the more I embrace feeling good, the less often I will feel bad. That just means, again, not in a toxic positivity way, but there's a lot of times where we can feel like this just doesn't feel right for me. But again, as children, we do that really well. But as adults, we kind of get socialized out of that because we want to be polite, because we don't really know ourselves. We don't spend with time with ourselves. We have like some disconnects within us, which, no judgment. That's what happens when we live life on earth. But the more I embrace feeling good, the less often I will feel bad. So just checking in and just being like, okay, how do I feel in this situation? What's going on for me? What does it feel like? Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.